Haunted Stories. 4 short horror stories. Written by Michael van der Voort. Narrated by Robin Reeds. Erasmus Crane and the Cthulhu Murders. It was the early morning, at around 5 a.m., that I stepped down from the hansom cab and into the swirling murk of pre-dawn rain. Around me, the jaundiced glow of the gaslights offered a valiant but ultimately futile effort against the fog, and their hazy glow provided little by the way of illumination. I was therefore heartened to hear a familiar voice by my elbow. It was the voice of the great detective Erasmus Crane, who greeted me with a warmth that seemed somewhat out of place in the dull, melancholic drizzle of the freezing morning. Summoning me to follow, he calmly introduced another man who was standing beside him as a police detective by the name of Cooper. This Cooper was a large, mustachioed gentleman whose barrel chest seemed perfectly suited to his family name. He nodded in acknowledgment and led the way with the aid of his lamp down the narrow cobblestone alley and away from the main road. At length we came to an intersection between 3 back streets, lit more clearly by an overhead gaslight and partitioned off by a thin stretch of rope that had been strung between the 2 walls, clearly with the intention of stopping the public, or any other interloper, from proceeding any further. Perceiving what lay just beyond that rope, however, I was convinced that this flimsy cord barrier actually served little purpose, since most men, upon catching even a glimpse of that grim tableau, would no doubt have turned heel in horror and raced in the opposite direction. Upon the ground, stretched out in a hideous flop of ragdoll contortions, was what remained of a young woman. She had evidently been not only killed, but butchered. Stripped of her clothes, which now lay in a tangled heap by her side, she had been slashed across the middle so that her innards, still slightly steaming in the cool of the morning, spilled out of her, only to have them been reorganized and placed in a carefully deliberate arrangement. Just below the rib-cage, 2 almond shapes, presumably meant to represent eyes, had been daubed in blood on either side of the meridian line. Below them, torn forcibly out through a single horizontal slit, the intestines had been cut into tubes of similar length and splayed out in a fanned shape so that they writhed below, curling downward in a spread of grasping tendrils. The overall effect was to make the lower torso appear like the dangling tentacles of some great cephalopod, a hideous, squirming octopus merged with a man. Below this careful arrangement, the rest of the intestines were scattered, seemingly at random, upon the floor. It was therefore a great surprise to me when Crane asked that I take out my notebook and sketch as precisely as possible the configurations of the discarded organs. For a moment I railed against the idea, but catching the glint in his eye, recognized immediately that, were the gruesome task not of the utmost importance, he would not have asked it of me. "Take for your bearing the top of the head, which has been positioned to face east. Consider the rest to be proceeding from right to left in a roughly horizontal pattern, and try as best you can to record accurately each twist and flicker of the alignment." I felt my stomach churn as I began at once to record the requested details. As I did, Crane spoke in low but clearly audible tones to the police detective. "I am much obliged to you, Detective, for contacting me regarding this matter, and I can guarantee that my involvement in this inquiry will be treated with the utmost discretion." Crane paused and then gestured toward the body with the bowl of his pipe. "You will see, of course, that the visible bruises on this young lady's inner thighs cover a wide palette of colours, from purples and greens to light brown. This is indicative that they were sustained at different times during encounters unrelated to this incident. Some are newer, whilst others are well over a week old. I would therefore suggest that this unfortunate girl was engaged in the oldest profession. I would furthermore suggest that you consult Madame Hindy's at the establishment on Grey Street. All of the females in her employ wear the same orchid-based perfume, sourced by the madam herself, and the victim is clearly wearing it. Perhaps in this manner she might be easily identified, and through enquiries in the surrounding buildings some information gained."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?